Thanks. My name's Anthony DiGesare. I'm known as Tone Atlas around town. Most people just call me Tone now. And I am part of the hip-hop community here. And especially in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was particularly vibrant. And I see a lot of people who were inspired by it. But I did want to say thank you to Aaron, who I have known a bit for a long time, and Allison for putting this together, Nate for putting me in touch with Aaron again. Two things I want to talk about are Baby Steps, which was the local nucleus, is DJ Low Pro, who's here, called it. Around 2000, DJ Cutler, who's also here, and Nick Zero, my brother, we formed a group called Pseudo Intellectuals, and we formed through Baby Steps. Got a chance to talk to a lot of people through the last week. One of them, DJ Low Pro, DJ Tommy as well, who was one of the founders of Baby Steps, Cochise, Rich the Snitch, and Shane Fry. I'll talk about all of these guys. My mother had tons of cool documents, so shout out to you. And Noah Friedowitz had a ton of stuff. I want to say hi to my kids who came out, my wife who's working too. I wanted to just bring everybody's attention to Tony Boy, who's like kind of the next generation rapper, producer, engineer. Through UB, he's been doing these things called Outside Influence. And he's interviewing all kinds of local rappers, producers, DJs and such. And this is a picture of he and Kool Taj the Great, who's one of the local legends. He's got one with DJ Low Pro, which I watch, which has a lot of information about the stuff I'm talking about tonight. Yeah, so again, Baby Steps. This is us looking really tough. This is Cutler, DJ Cutler. I think this is me, and this is my brother. We both got big heads. And then that's my daughter, Isabella. She's mean mugging. Here's an old flyer from Baby Steps, and it's got, again, MC Sick, DJ Low Pro, DJ Tommy. Basically the guys who put it together. DJ Cream on there as well, and the DFC B-Boys. It was every Thursday from 1999 to 2006 or 7. It was a great time, and I learned a lot there, and I think it's important just to say that it was like an incubator for talent and skills, and you met a lot of people who were really good at what they were doing. I just wanted to say too, as a disclaimer, this is my perspective. I'll miss a lot of people. I might forget people. I'm going to talk a lot about that scene and then how my group formed out of it. And I think about it in regards to the milieu it came out of, and I look at it as three different things that kind of built into Baby Steps. And one would be what you'd call boom bap hip hop from late 80s, early 90s. But importantly, out of that grew a really vibrant underground scene where independent labels popped up between the mid 90s and late 2000s in all kinds of cities. You've got Brick Records out of Boston, Rhyme Sayers out of Minnesota. So all these different cities started producing underground scenes. And then the third part to it is there was already a local scene here that was pretty vibrant, and there's a group called the Insomniacs I was aware of in high school, and I would listen to their tapes, as well as the Upstate Clique, who was another really a powerhouse. I don't even know how many members there are, but another part of this is New Style Records, which was on Bailey Avenue, so I used to go there in high school, get tapes, and the local stuff was always coming out of New Style, and they never stopped selling vinyl, so it's where I started at the end of high school. I started buying records again because hip-hop never really fell out of touch with the vinyl game. This is my brother, Nick. In high school, he was rapping before me. He went by Nick Prophet, Nichols T Prophet. He would love when people would be like, what does the T stand for? And he'd say the. It was his big joke. He also went by Nichols and Big Nichols. He used to do mixtapes, and DJ Cutler can attest to this. This one's Nick Prophet's Silent Golden. He did mixtapes all the time and was passing them out where he would do little raps on there. But he told me this the other day when I was in high school I was going to be a famous rapper, and I thought it was really funny because I never really knew he thought about it like that. But this is 1997. He would have been a junior or senior in high school. I would have been out of high school, but he did it was called Weststock, I think, right? Weststock, yeah. So it was a high school music performance, and he was on the bill as Nichols. I would meet Scott Down there, who was DJing for other guys. First time I met Scott Down. It was organized by none other than class vice president, DJ Cutler. So first time maybe I met him and became aware of him. But we would, in a couple years, we would take the world by storm. This is the first tape. This is a picture taken by Ralph Sirianni, who introduced me. He's here. He went by Midnight Gremlin, and he introduced me to a lot of the underground music that was coming out. And this is my brother-in-law, Bruce, and that's me, young me with a little bit of hair. It's the first tape where I made all of the beats. So I got my hands on an MPC, well, not got my hands on it, I maxed out a credit card and bought an MPC 2000 and made all of the beats. And Bruce and I recorded this tape called Anti-Socialists. it was called the Anti-Socialism Agenda, and I have to be clear, like, I'm actually a socialist, and so it's all the more like absurd that this was the name. But back then I didn't really mean it like that. It was more like, you know, the man, you know, like I was like, society, man, you know. But so I was driving up Main Street, and I don't know if Low Pro will remember this, probably not, it's absurd, but I was driving up Main Street, and on the marquee it said local MC showcase at Broadway Joe's. I swear to God, this is how Bruce and I, driving up the street, found out about it. We were listening to our own music in the car. And so we go in, and I go to the stage, and I'm like, I'm a local MC. Can I get on the mic? I never was on stage before, and Low Pro looked at me like I was absolutely insane. And he said, if you give me your information, I will pass it along. And you were really cool about it, you know. And so I wrote my number on that tape. I went to the car, got the tape, wrote my number, give it to him. And low-key, the trickster, Anthony, called me that week and put me on the showcase, which we'll talk. Immediately, though, I want to just say I was obsessed with recording music. Not just performing it. I always wanted to, like, record music. I loved the tapes and such. These are some early flyers from Baby Steps. I think this was really early. And so that's Tommy, that's MC Sick, and that's DJ Low Pro. And they really put together and cultivated this scene. And this is another one, the underground hip hop manifestation in Buffalo. Again, it was a bigger movement, and we were part of, and I'm part of that smaller movement. So if you kind of move in on those scopes, there's a great interview with Low Pro and MC Sick from, I think it's WBFO, you can find it on YouTube. But I really like this part where MC Sick says, his goal was to build a base with specific promotion. And if you were around then, you would see these flyers everywhere. Any place you would go, those flyers were in it, but specific places. And importantly, it like created a scene that wasn't just a bunch of rappers. If you're an MC, you know that like you would be in a room where it's just a bunch of rappers rapping at each other. And it was not like that. It was a lot of people doing different things. In this, Low Pro called Baby Steps the nucleus, and I would say that's accurate because a lot of stuff built out of it and came out of it. And it ran from 1999 to 2006. This is one of the fellas, DJ Tommy. He's a little bit older than me, so back when I was buying these tapes of the local guys, he was actually DJing with those guys, Cochise and DJ Milk at Asbury Alley. He said he was way too young to be in there, but he started honing his skills. And this is MC Sick. He came from Westchester County, another guy from UB. He met DJ Tommy at UB. They started playing shows together between like 98 and 99 until MC Sick, whose name is also Josh, I might call him that through it, met Sam Marabella at Broadway Joe's. And I got to send a huge shout out to Sam because hip hop's not always respected by bar and club owners and such. And so Sam really, you know, gave a spot and was really open and welcoming and allowed that thing to flourish there. And of course, Low Pro, huge influence on basically everyone. First person I met and gave that tape to too. So I guess he was before, but he's, I think, from the Bronx, Albany, and then here. Something like that?
By way of all the above.
Yeah. So he says in the one video, he says, I was there on day 2, so he claims to not be there at the beginning, but he was there really early. He and Tommy, Low Pro says, and I got to say, he's a funny guy. Every single battle, Tommy won those. And then there's a long pause, according to the judges. But he's good at everything. He's an encyclopedia, juggler, scratcher. But importantly, and I'm not really going to touch on this stuff, but he notes in the interview too, there was a lot of struggle because it's not all good. You know, you're doing these things and there's nights when nobody shows up, things like that. And we all experience that stuff. So it's important as I nostalgize, which I don't like to do, but I'm really enjoying right now. So I probably won't say much of the bad stuff, but these are the other important people involved. Low-Key and Ketchup Samurai, both co-hosts of the night. And then Rich the Snitch. I like this picture because he's pensively thinking, holding his Tribe Called Quest record. Mysterious L, who I haven't seen or heard from in I don't even know long. He was very involved, and I love that guy. He's one of my favorite people on the planet, so if anybody sees him or knows him, tell him I said hi. DJ Cream also was another important DJ there. And I just wanted to send a shout out to Tommy, Low Pro, and Rich, because without the sound and the music, you can't have anything. And I remember when Bruce and I first went into Broadway Joe's and we heard that music, because we're from the Kenton area where it wasn't like big, so we were like a small group of people off to the side listening to this music, and it was not very popular. Being cut off from the rest of the world, coming to a place where everybody was into that stuff was really, really important and informative. So you can't have that without the vibe and the sound. Had a lot of out-of-town guests, some really big ones. My daughter's really into MF Doom right now, and she's super jealous. I got to see him there really early on. It was an incredible show. We had J. Rue the Damager was there, all natural. I can't name them all. We'll be here all day. Mass Pike was absolutely insane there. DJ Dopey first. I was talking to Shane Fry, who was one of the B-boys, and he like made a bass line on the needle of the record, which was absolutely the craziest thing I've ever seen. And we had Kool Herc, who's one of the founders of hip hop there. This was one of the craziest things I ever saw. He had like a box of 45s and was just throwing 45s on one after the other. And it was like a crazy dance party. It was unbelievable. One of the fathers of hip hop in Buffalo in the year 2000 was absolutely nuts. Importantly though, what I want to really talk about is they had local MC showcases, which once a month they gave chance to people like myself. This was the one I was on after I handed that tape in. I became good friends with ECMC. Agent O, who's here, was in that first time I was on stage was that night. I don't know Chance. Sunchild I haven't seen in a long time, but a good dude. Pastime I became great friends with. And Anonymous I became great friends with. That's my friend Darren. And then this one my brother was in with some other, G Sinister, Hannibal, MC Scribe, MC Block. Some people know these folks, but all really good. Again, it was an incubator, so going to see all of these people, you would see people just be incredible. Having a scene is different than sitting in your bedroom alone, where you're kind of building. These are some of the names. I saw Shay Hawk walk in. I met him there. Used to go by Noble Truth. DJ Derringer, who was there, he was one of the DJs there, who's now one of the best producers in the entire country. Westside Gun and Conway performed there at some point. Midnight Gremlin, who's here. Jug Star, who, if anybody's ordered food from him, is incredible. Incredible chef. I'm trying to think if there's anyone. X Now, one of my great friends. We also had a bunch of female MCs would come out too. Wise Mecca, I believe Eve was there once. She did poetry or something. Molecule, JG. Yeah, I could go on, Importantly, too, the Upstate clique was well represented. So I got to see all of these like Buffalo legends performed, and they were absolutely monsters. Slice, I remember he gave me props after a show, and I could have died that day. Dirty Nate, rest in peace. I saw him perform there. Menelik, all these guys. Kool Taj the Great is an amazing. He like does songs with Pete Rock now. Ali was an amazing person. I know Hannibal the Soldier because I became pretty good friends with him, and he took me a little bit under his wing, and kind of like as a young goofy guy, he kind of really showed me the ropes a bit. He actually lived up the street from me for about 3 or 4 years too, so I would see him quite a bit. Just another flyer. This is Third Son. We'll talk about him in a minute. I should mention Special K. It says under there the 91.3 phone bandit. So DJ Lowpro and MC Sick had a radio show everybody would listen to, and Special K would call and do hysterical freestyles. I wish in the future, I hope that this thing turns into like a bigger project of some sort, because I really realize how much there is, how little I can tell you tonight, and how much people actually had once they started talking to people, old flyers, old photos, old videos and such. But yeah, these are some of the things I wanted to just mention. I have to tell this story. There's a guy, Lord Chaotic, who I met through this guy, General Spade, and he was a crazy, ferocious battle rapper, and I thought he was like untouchable. And I remember being there really early on, and this guy, Bo Gustus, I don't even know how old he was, but he looked really young. But Bo Gustus and he battled each other for about an hour out front, and if you know those guys, you know that they will freestyle forever. And it's not just like filler, it was really good. They had 91.3 going, which was the radio station, 716 Records, where Rich the Snitch and Low Pro worked. Again, like all of these things you could dig into, but we just don't even have the time. There was also other events at Blue. I won't even say, but I'm still trying to mimic what Low Pro is doing at Blue now. Frank's, Off the Wall, Rendezvous, and Hardware. If you know those bars, there were DJ events there, hip hop stuff happening there. This is General Spade. When that place got busy, it would be like really packed and really fun, and the vibrant scene was just something to behold. It gives you an idea of the place. It was just, I don't know, it was always jammed. Something in the walls, but not really, but see what this is. I think this is me there. Got a little video.
You ain't here in the house tonight, yo. Good DJs are hard to come by. Dope beats and quick hands will let the drums fly. So come fly and scream until your tongues dry. The sun sky won't consume the air that booms as June runs by. Tommy's thumbs plow, fingers linger, tongue try spin with the boss cat. With boss tax like busy. No Tommy toss back like frisbees. Is he really ghost? The toast of the town. Local ghosts and clowns and boats and clouds. Don't worry, low pro will hold it down. Talk before state of activation. DJs don't sit in that inflation. I heard babies set days minus Tommy's like abortion minus mommies. A China minus commies, Clyde minus Bonnie. Magnolia minus Donnie, Ronnie minus Jordan, Jordan's minus Scotty, Gotti minus bodies, Lottie minus Dottie. Dag minus Bonnie, Carmen minus Lonnie, Quest minus Johnny, even Stevens minus Connie. So when you take the blanket from Linus, yo, take that shit calmly. Yo, that's it, yo. Yo, much love to Broadway Tommy, yo. Yo, big up to this cat, every DJ in Buffalo, low pro.
So I would wear this safari hat I moved into an apartment. It was like a dirty, grimy apartment, and I put that hat on my head, if you could believe it. Another huge important part of the whole thing was the differential flavor crew, the DFC, the break dancers, and I'll talk about Verve later. A lot of people might know Verve Dance Studio, but the crew was started by Two Toast, Tony Estevez. He was another UB student from, I think, Queens, but he started a dance crew, and this is a picture of them back then. But here's Shane. He's a good friend of mine now. Shane Fry is one of those people I met then and became really good friends with, but this is the list of those fellas. But they would be there dancing every week. You know, it wouldn't have been the same without them. You know, with hip hop, you have the four pillars. You know, rapping, which we had, DJing, which you had, b-boys, and then graffiti, which was in the bathroom, I guess.
Until Sam showed up.
Until Sam showed up, exactly. I know people who actually got kicked out for life for like tagging up walls in there and stuff. Around 2000, I did my first song. This is the first time I was like in a studio, and this guy Colossus, who's another local legend. He had us over, and I did a song with Third Son, who I'll talk about in a minute, Tone Atlas, that's me, MC Sick, Lazarus, who's another really good old friend, and DJ Tommy. But first time I was in a studio, it really inspired me to make music around the year 2000 as well. I think it was before I did my first album. But around this time, I formed the group Pseudo Intellectuals with someone I've known for a really long time, my brother Nick, and DJ Cutler, who at some point, my brother-in-law brought around. Mike was like sketching and learning how to DJ and stuff, so we started hanging out. This was actually a promo shot for the first show we ever did, where they were like, hey, we need a group photo, so we took this ridiculous photo at Feel Right while Mike was working, and this is my oldest daughter, who's here now in the promo shot. And I think that show, I don't remember where it was, but probably was not successful at that time, I don't know. Interestingly, I wanted to say, we originally were gonna call ourselves the Lawn Wranglers, which was from the movie Bottle Rocket, and thank God Nick saved us from that senseless name. But we've always wanted to get if you've ever seen the movie, we've always wanted these yellow jumpsuits, and by God, one day we'll get them. So if you ever see us in those, this is a picture of Cutler in my back room. He thought this shirt was hysterical. It said Buffalo Police, but it was like a pink bison shirt, and he just always wore it ironically. This is a mixer I had, which was the first place I made beats, where it had a little button that allowed you to loop stuff for 6 seconds. So for the first beats I made were just loops. I would hit that. The first beat I made was from Buffalo 66, a little guitar lick from that movie. Around 1998, I think that movie came out. I saw it on VHS or whatever. There's Nick, our IT man. One of my many dingy studio rooms. And so in 2001, we did our first album. We combined our group with Catastrophic Minds, our friends No Composition and Pastime. Cutler sketched up this awesome cover. We called it Notes from the Underground. I was really into Dostoevsky at that point. But here's Nick, here's Cut, here's me. We have our unofficial but official 6th member X now, Rich Pinaro and John Palmer. And then here's Nick giggling on stage. I don't know why I put that one in there. It's not related at all. I think it's supposed to be later, whatever. And this is Tone X, who ran Deep Thinker Records, who I'll talk about a little bit. Yeah, and we had MC Sick, Agent O on that album, X Now, and Midnight Gremlin, some of the guys we met there. I'll try to play just a little bit. I put some of the sounds on here.
The Sonic fights, but hypocrites never notice. I guess they rather look pretty than rock glasses and be focused. Closest thing to human I consume in hefty doses. Outside fuming all the roaches when this ray of light approaches. One beam, no sunscreen, it's shown directly on my face. Was blind in both my eyes, but they were closed. And then it takes a few ticks on clocks to hit a rock and then a window. Woke 4 hours later with my head laid on my pillow. Now I'm widowed, ditto or dead. Doesn't really matter, head was pounding like drums. And I feel my brain was splattered by a gun blast.
It's a Stan Kenton sample, but I got much more savvy later, as you can tell by my Thelonious Monk shirt. So this is Deep Thinker Records. They put out a lot of stuff in this era. This is GroupE.com and Rhyme Royal, both from Cleveland. So we had good Cleveland connections around that time. I still remain really good friends with Speed and Furious from this group, and they were also involved in kind of running that label. And then this is from the release show, which we did at Baby Steps, which was a huge success, and until we got in a fight with police. But you could talk to me about that on the side. But it did happen, but it otherwise was a really huge success of a show. But this is one of the other guys, mainstays, Agent O, one of the best rappers from the city, ferocious, just really good. Learned a lot from watching him. And he's still doing it. I threw this up just because this is a really great work he's doing now with another old friend, Mike Bronto, who was also there. And they're hitting big numbers on this thing they just put out, and it's great. And Mike Bronto, I want to just mention, one of the most fun performers I ever saw, because he's really big, but he's also just like a gentle giant and gregarious and really fun. I learned a lot from watching people like him perform, because he allowed his personality to kind of come out through his performance style, which I think is really important. And so also through Deep Thinker Records, they put out this collective album called Immortal Mike Union, Declaration of Independence, Independent Hip Hop. And this was the anthem for a couple of seasons by Agent O, called Metaphor Metropolis. Very important song in the city lineage.
I live in Metaphor Metropolis on Simile Street. I work at a music store, it's called Give Me a Beat. The native language of my land is called Ebonics. A tongue that moves fluent with a broke down cadence and smooth phonics. People here is real diverse but share shit in common. We all bonded by this hip hop shit, we on it. Our flag represent one nation under a groove. Replace the term capitalism with making moves. This the land of milk and honey. Freedom can be pursued without falling subject to the evils of people's views. Man, in Metaphor Metropolis, anything is possible. Here even being the B-boy is profitable. And ain't no kids getting shot in our schools. We drop jewels, teach them hip-hop, rockin' the blues. Yo, you feeling this elevation where children is willing to get an education, cause we instill them with the feeling of building a nation. Built the city from the ground down. Stereo mode and surround sound. Subterranean, lyrical downtown. And crime in my city is nearly non-inherent. Except for cats from out of town who keep trying to bite our lyrics. Here there is relatively no need for the police. Control our own beat, patrolling the street, promoting peace. This is gangsters paradise, a heaven for a G. Yo, they even made some room for lyricists like me.
It's a great tune, and it was like really important as we grew through. Also on this album, I wanted to give this guy a personal shout because he was pretty wild. He was there, probably did 1,000 showcases, and he was just always really sharp with the lyrics. And I'll play you a little bit of Bo Gustus.
It's amazing, barbaric, I rap with razors. Under tongue slash through pages and slabs of pavement. Format raps and brackets to attack the fakeness. Laceration back to basics, I had to take it. Vivid with rapture, sickening, chanting Ginzu ballad. Kids are savage, grip bics that sends through chapters. Shift the atlas, justice, commence the ass kicks. Whip your ass with offensive, spit theatrics.
But all this stuff, you know, with all this music happening, you're kind of like going back home, back to the drawing board constantly, trying to like refine what you're doing. You're hearing people like Bo Gustus, Agent O, and you're like really stepping up your game. So, and this is Bo Gustus, and this is Giggling Nick. I found actually some pictures of the show that this is from. They opened for DJ Dopey, so you got, you know, Nick Zero here, and Bo Gustus is on here somewhere. So I found some pictures from this show, which would have been 2002, February 14, 2002, Valentine's Day for the ladies. A bunch of rappers. DJ Dopey had Abu from New York as a co-host. There was a Baby Steps in New York City, and Abu ran that. I should mention that too. I should mention the flyers were always really good. MC Sick designed a lot of them. There's a fella, Brent, who's still a graphic designer, a really interesting guy. Brent Arnold, who also did a lot of the early flyers. But they always had really good, memorable looking flyers so people would see it. This is a few more from that show. And for me, this is my favorite rapper, Third Son. And this is actually on YouTube, but it's a good video of him rapping, just so you get the vibe.
Gritty inner city lyrics and metaphysics. Official, graduated without the plated pistol and made it crystal clear that the issue here is credibility. No false imagery, we're repping my vicinity. 716 of me, represented properly. My show stock monopolies related directly to the fact I'm rocking these and stated correctly. So hands up to see me perform. When I get on, it's all love still. Some feel obliged to hate, too accustomed to rap, so they despise the great. For the chance I've been waiting to enhance this location with advanced vocalization from a trance to a wake. taken. For the fans of impatient, I've been crammed in the nation. For the fans innovation to get a standing ovation. Clap your hands to this ancient tribal rhythm. Long lost, no frost, lyricism, toss wisdom swift. See if you can peep it or not. Reality is real, whether you keep it or not.
He's still that good, and he still sounds that good. He's the best. We recorded some music back then. It didn't come out till much later. He remains one of my bestest friends, too, to this day. A lot of these folks do. Oh, my God. I tossed up a picture of he and VJ Brown and Nick Gonzalez. I have a group with them called the Chill Harmonic Orchestra. We did a number of shows over the years. This is cool. This is like they did a lot of shows at Sound Lab too. This was the biggest show I did at that time. DJ Vadim still remains pretty huge Russian DJ. We opened for them, and I'll talk about Julian Montague, who did the artwork for our most recent release. I met him here because he had his, I don't know if anybody remembers, he had like the shopping cart was here at Sound Lab. We performed at one of the shows surrounding that way back. I think this was about 2003, maybe 2002. So Baby Steps threw this at that, and it was really fun. Another one, this is really good. A lot of people might know Idris Wahed. Now, he used to go by Eddie Reyes. He was another really important fixture in that scene, who performed there a lot of times, was really good. And he had a group called Raw and Tell with Trev Thorne. And this album was 2002. And it kind of changed the game for me because it sounded better than anything anybody else was doing. In my opinion, like it was cleaner.
Evangelist, heavy narrative, my editorial. Keep your audio bleeding, recordable, rhetorical, speechless. I leave you in the wind like a fragrance. MCs, the safest places, not where the stage is. Believe me, I've seen a lot of similar fates. They gave everything they had, but didn't have what it takes.
Yeah, so I basically had to go back to the drawing board after I heard that album and try to get better. We form Pseudo Slang with Josh Brown from this group called Extracts of Slang. Cut moves out to South Dakota, so Nick and I combined with him. Ends up officially just MC Sick and myself for a few years. We did a lot of gigs locally, and one of the things we really tried to make a run of it and do our thing. There were other DJs that kind of came through Baby Steps. You got Corona Graphics. Cutler was one of the regulars after a while. And then you got DJ Derringer, who started there, and that's where I met him, and I actually started working with him. I wanted to just mention Grand Fee, another really good guy, a good rapper who performed here a lot. The next slide is an important moment. DJ Cutler puts out Idle Records and Empty Growlers, which is an incredible, I don't even know what to call it. It's a mixtape, but it's so much more. It's got 18 genres and 1,000 songs. It's wild to listen to, and I implore you to check it out. It's a really incredible patchwork, but he won a huge DJ contest 2006, and so he put out with DJ Optimus Prime a mixtape which featured a lot of local music, and you can find that. So it has a lot of our stuff on there and a lot of the other people I've mentioned. And then Baby Steps ends around 2006. Pseudo Slang, the group I was in with MC Sick, we get a record deal with Fat Beats, which is a pretty big deal. We started recording We'll Keep Looking, and there's no young rappers here, but I want to leave this as advice. We had an argument back then that I think I came out on the right side of that I did not win, which was when we got our advance, I wanted to build a studio. MC Sick wanted to go to a studio, and we ended up going to the studio and racking up a huge bills and spending all of our money, all of our advances on recording in a studio, which was a bad move. But I wanted to say, Coach East mentions this in an interview with Tony Boy. I just said that his first advance, he built a studio. Same thing with Slug from Atmosphere, who Cutler met. So those are some pretty important people that I was on the right side with. So whatever.
What would you have done different? Huh? What would you have done different?
I would have built the studio, but I wouldn't have won. I was outpowered, I guess. It was tough. Yeah, I would have built a studio, I would have bought equipment, but it was still a little bit before, equipment was really easy. Now you could do it, you could spend $1,000, then you would have had to buy more stuff. This was 2006, so it would have been, but I still think we could have done it. But I did a lot of tours. I got to tour Canada with J. Rue the Damager, he was really cool. Got to tour the US and Denmark. Josh moves to Chicago again, Low Pru's gone for a bit, and Baby Steps kind of ends there. But it still maintains, I'll talk about it because there's a lot of stuff. This is us in Denmark. This is Cut showing a nice Danish fellow a record. This is in one of the cities we toured in Denmark. And then this is myself and DJ Derringer on stage around that time. This is my wife. I just found this picture from about 2007 with B. Wiz, who was, yeah, R.I.P. to B. Wiz. He just passed away, and he was like a fixture from the beginning. I actually went to middle school with him, and I knew him from back then, and he was always around. And I found this picture of my wife with him about 2007 at a pseudo slang show. So I thought I'd throw it in there and say, R.I.P. B. Wiz. And then we have the end of pseudo slang. Basically, I leave the group because we have trouble finishing the album, and I won't get into all of that here. I just did a song about it you could listen to called Pseudo Slang. But in 2007, I kind of quit rap as I was kind of trying to do it, and I was doing all right, but I kind of was like, once you're out on the road and you see what you have to do to exist, it's kind of crazy, and I didn't have what it takes at that time. I left the tour in the middle of it. Still one of the toughest things I ever had to do is leave Cut out in Denver with MC Sick. So I started working at Geico, and this is when I really started having fun with music. And we were stuck with a huge bill. But still, a lot of really good music coming out. A lot of this is deep thinker stuff I realized I put up, but Idris Wahad had a really good run. He made a lot of really interesting music, and you got Grand Fee and Reese and Hall, Catastrophic Minds, who we were in cinematics with, Fresh Guac, Mad Dukes, who's one of the best freestylers in the city. This is all after, but stuff that's still really good, and it keeps going, 25 Metro, who become two really good friends of mine. I meant to mention Definition was in at the end around 2006, 18-year-old young fella, snuck into Baby Steps to perform and brought the house down. But he and Tommy Quattro made that album, which is a great one. And of course, the Griselda, what am I gonna say? I was friends with Derringer. I knew Gun a bit. They were at least at the room. I don't know how much Baby Steps would have had to do with them, but I gotta throw them in there. And then you got the DJs still doing it. We got Low Pro, Cutler, DJ Optimus Prime, absolute legend, with DJ Psych, who I saw around. These guys are still kind of maintaining a robust scene. Verve Dance Studio comes out of it. Anybody been to Battle at Buffalo? Were you guys go to those back in the day? So Shane Fry was at Baby Steps, good friend of mine too. We put out our best album, I think, in 2008. I finally put out a Pseudo Intellectuals album. And I just wanted to split this up into three things. We were just part of the scene before, enjoying it and learning ourselves. And then I really tried to make it, was stifled by creative difference and economic reality. And then I stopped giving a junk. And we made really good music, I think. And so we put that record out. We had an amazing release show at the Tudor Lounge in 2008. We had 25 Metro, H2O, and Prolific. Crowd was crazy. One of the best shows I ever did in my life. I've not rapped this hard ever since. If you could see me, I have zero energy left. I don't have what it takes to do that, but I did it at some point, and I'm good enough with that. If you listen to Resourceful Illery, there's a lot, the album that comes out, there's a lot of that in there. Passive-aggressive lines about it. Passive-aggressive, I just got aggressive recently.
Savage.
I like to say he's not here, but a good friend of mine now too. We've got a young Amish-looking man, Dr. Ooh, right here with this cap on. He's in the front of every shot. You could see him here. You could tell by the hat. He's in every shot, going berserk. It's amazing. And got on with life and made music. So we did dope grind work with Deep Thinker Records. We had a great release show with that. This is a great picture I found of Third Son and JMFG. Here's Nick Gonzalez and VJ Brown, who I did Tommy Sheedy with Definition here. And then our first record, our first vinyl, which was really exciting, in 2012, a Polish DJ came across our stuff and put out our first stuff on vinyl. Big for us to put that out, and it did pretty well. People liked it, and so we did a second record with him. This is a shot at Blue Monk that Cutler took at the end of one of his closing shifts when he was bartending there back in the day. And then he and I got on the phone about 2020 and said, let's make one more go, old chap. We did this beat tape called Late Stage Malaise, which we sent to a record label in England called Chopped Herring Record. Cut sent it to him. It's called Chopped Herring Records. And Chopped Herring Records loved it. And they said, you got some raps? And we said, yeah, we do. So we're on our fourth album with Chopped Herring Records. So we're in our most prolific period after 2020. It's crazy to kind of just be in this position where this label is kind of helping us pump stuff out. And this one, Only Built for Food and Drinks, was my brother's master's thesis from a bunch of years earlier. We re-recorded it and redid it. Yeah, and so this one is a covers album we did. It's my favorite album we've done, maybe. And then Pizza Money is a really fun one. This is my niece. I should say that, our kids are always involved. I have my kids on all kinds of songs all through the years when they were little. well, mostly when they were little, because she definitely is not doing that now. But back then she would have, because I would make her. But Juniper, my young niece, drew this cover, and then my daughter Sophia did our symbol, which I should have put on here. And then yeah, our most recent album I'm really excited about. Comes out next week, called Command Economy, and it's all Command records. If you're familiar with Command records, it's like kind of a 50s and 60s label, which put out popular music. So we did all the samples from that, and we contacted Julian Montague, and he did the cover for us. So we got some nice fly Julian Montague cover, and yeah, that's about it. That's where we're at now. So yeah, thanks for listening. Questions or anything? Am I supposed to ask for questions, or? We don't have to either. I'm sweating.
What about being a teacher? Where did that come in?
Oh yeah, well, so when I quit Geico, well, I worked at Geico after the music thing kind of imploded for about 7 or 8 years, and I put my wife through nursing school, and then when she was done with nursing school, I worked at Geico a few more years. But then while I was working at Geico, I never got a degree because I was busy doing rap when I was a kid. And so I got a bachelor's degree online, then went to Buff State, and now I'm 5/7 of the way done with a PhD, which is all. I have everything done but the dissertation. So I like to say, yeah, it's been, yeah. So working on that now. Yeah, good question though. Yeah, and so now I teach, which is fun, but you don't get paid anything.
What do you teach?
I teach English, literature, writing. Cultural studies. I teach at Menelik and Canisius College. I try to be creative. Sometimes they find out I'm a rapper and they like it. Yeah.
Film interests?
What's that?
There's just film interests too?
Yeah, what are my film interests?
You bring your film interests.
Oh yeah, into teaching, yeah. In fact, I'm doing a class right now at Menelik I'm really proud of. It's one I designed called, it's called Justice and Democracy, but it's not really film, but it is film. I'll explain. But so, I like to do like sociology through literature, and we watched this show called Show Me a Hero. Are you familiar with that, anybody? It's David Simon's show where it's about the housing segregation fights in Yonkers in, you remember this? Yeah, in the 1980s. And so we watched that show, and we learned about segregation kind of alongside the history of segregation, the context of that, and then I tied it into the history of Buffalo too. So we've been reading some local stuff and talking about the Buffalo shooting, which was tough, but it was interesting to kind of come at it from that angle. So yeah, bring my film as much as I can, but as an adjunct, I mostly get like freshman writing, but whatever. I like that too. Yeah.
So did you listen to much jazz?
Yeah. Great question. Yeah, so I will tell you, a lot of hip hop is sampled from jazz, and my sound is big time based on jazz. So around when I first got my sampler and I wanted to make beats, I went to Media Play and I bought 2 CDs, and I bought a Thelonious Monk Best Of and a Duke Ellington, which I have both. I didn't know anything about either of those guys, but I ended up, becoming a huge I have a real problem, and I have like 1,000 jazz records, and just anecdotally, when WBFO closed, we got like a hookup, Cut and I did, right? Called the BFO score, because we bought two records. I think it was 3 for $2. 3 for $2, and they had like the thing on the spine and WB, but I got like original, everything. It's my collection's full of them. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about that sale.
Yeah. Well.
Like every year, you know that?
Incidentally, we did it in,
I was there before them, and I was wondering how they do year after year, and there would still be records left. And I wasn't the first one there either.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, so every time somebody saw it, they'd be like, oh wow, BFO, they just did this. I'm like, yeah, I was there a few years ago. Somebody told me that, and I was there a few years ago. Somehow they had stacks and archives of records, and there was always so much there that, the proof's in the pudding. I don't know what year you were there.
It was about 2003 cut?
Yes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 304, I want to say.
Oh, 304. A buddy of ours, I've got to say, Jeff Campisi, rest in peace to Jeff Campisi as well. He's the one who hooked us up with that. He just passed away last year. He hooked us up with that, and it was the best the best lick I hit my whole life. I remember calling everybody I know, my brother. I'm like, listen, man, I've made you dozens and dozens of beats. I need $100 immediately. And he ponied up that $100 though, like no joke.
What inspires you now with the beat making?
I think I'm just like a rolling stone gathering moss. You know, I just can't stop. I've been chasing the thing for like so long. I can't do anything else. You know, it's just like. And I can't stop. I want to stop making jazz beats. I can't stop making jazz beats. I want to stop writing esoteric, weird lyrics. And I want to be fun. I can't. It's just like, I'm so like in the zone. So if you listen to it, it's just like, you know, like, oh God, here he goes again, or whatever. But still, the drums are good.
What was some of your favorite songs that you proud of?
For me?
Yeah.
Great question, man. Yeah, the Resourceful Hillary song, the lead song, I just listened to that today, and I think my brother's writing was really good on it. And there's one Decemberfest on the Resourceful Hillary album too, where I haven't listened to it in forever, but wow, it was pretty good writing. We like went through the months back and forth constantly. I didn't even remember doing it, and it was freaking crazy. That one, and then a lot of the new stuff I'm really digging. I have to say, like, there was one that Cut and I love doing. We'll do this thing where I'll say a line and then he'll scratch a line and finish what I'm saying. And there's a few songs like that we've done. On his Idol Records album, we did that, right? And on the Cinematics album, we did that. So that's one of them. And we just did it for the Chopped Herring mix, too. And I really like doing that, yeah.
You got any performances coming up?
No. Oh, I'm DJing Friday. Yeah. There'll be no rapping. There'll be no rapping. I don't have what it takes anymore. But I'm DJing at Fatty Beer with my friend Evan, DJ Bobby Cousy, and DJ Cutler. We're doing a retrospective for Dave from De La Soul passed away.
Wait, what's the Tuesday thing?
Oh, and I'm going to be doing... So I'm going to be doing, over the summer, once I get it hashed out, my friend Lorenz bartends at Hardware, Allentown Hardware, so over the summer I'll be doing Tuesday nights at Hardware. Yeah, so yeah, I guess I do have gigs coming up. Yeah.
So what struck me, two things that came out, amazing talk, Tone.
Thanks.
One is the use of language that I'm used to from social movements, justice movements,
Yeah.
like MC6 saying he's building a base. That it was a musical movement, and you did such a good job of detailing how it flourished and really made a mark in our town. And I also just noticed how many members of that movement are in the room.
Yeah.
Mentioned today. So shout out to everybody who led that. I see, I think you've named almost all of them, but
I think they were all in the talk.
I'd love to get a picture,
Yeah, please.
The movement members here. And then secondly, just that jazz-based sound, obviously that runs through underground hip-hop, but the fact that Griselda's keeping that alive worldwide, but that, there were a lot of roots to that. You being one, and, Cutler in the room, obviously Derringer, a lot of DJs, and...
Yeah, Derringer's father is a jazz musician, and he had quite a record collection, so he would bring records to my house and we'd make beats.
Right, so the whole lineage of that Buffalo sound, I mean, it really came through in the way you presented it, so thank you for that.
Oh, Seamus.
I'm thinking about how the scene transcended hip hop, and I'm wondering if have you ever, and will you validate my theory that you're partially responsible for the mainstreaming of Allen Street? When you and Cut were holding down at Hardware, and then you would turn it over to Derringer and Down, and y'all would refuse to play requests, but they would play the hits that were being requested, and then next thing you know, there's a line outside the door at Hardware.
Yeah, so I think that there's broader social implications. I'm not prepared to talk about why that happened then. I don't know. I would say Serato, had a lot to do with that maybe, but neither of those guys were doing Serato, so I don't. Yeah.
You gentrified my neighborhood.
I'm sorry. I'm trying not to. Yeah. I wanted to just show really quick. There, you know, I won't do it, but there's still a lot of really good stuff going on. You know, like keep your eye open online. There's so many people. There's this guy Gaines who's in the lineage somewhere. He just put out a great album. I have a couple of them listed. I'll pull them up because I wanted to mention too, like if you're not aware, most people will be, like Bridge Studios is doing incredible stuff right now. Everything coming out of there. Tony Boy and this guy Brennan Hall. Grand Fee is behind this beat thing. I just went to this beat auction a couple weeks ago where I sold a beat this guy Brennan Hall is doing, and you know, like there was some crazy good rappers there that are still doing it. Sneak Vibing Blog, Shandi is doing some crazy work, and then of course I got to shout out Agent O again for putting out good stuff. Dr. U, I'm working on stuff with him and 25 Metro. I just met this guy Cassius Green at the beat auction. He's unbelievable, and he's got an album coming out this week. With this guy Dwayne's Primo, who's really freaking good too. I'd never met them. And then my favorite stuff right now is Recent Hall, but Source the Academy Kid. Like he's really doing good stuff with Al Biz too. I just wanted to mention that. It's still like people in the lineage. It's still going on. Everybody's still working. It's really cool to be a part of, like you said. Yeah, social movement. It was.
Okay, so I guess we'll call it.
Thank you.
Let's get another round of applause.
Thanks.